Hi everyone, and welcome to Thotis for this first episode of Dean's Conversation. I am here with Vincenzo Vinzi, the General Director of ESSEC, and we are going to be talking about higher education issues. Hi Vincenzo.
Hi Thibaut.
Thank you for being with us today.
My pleasure to be with you.
Vincenzo, you have been the General Director of ESSEC since 2017. Could you share with us the key accomplishment you have achieved so far, the initiative you are currently working on, and your future plans for the institution?
That's a great question. It allows me to talk about the daily life of myself at ESSEC, and most importantly of ESSEC Business School as a whole. So of course we have been we kept nurturing the academic excellence of the school. It goes through the recruitment of professors, both in France and internationally. It goes to recruiting students in France and from all over the world. We've been even more attractive than ever and even more selective. This is extremely important. By now we have 40% of international students overall. And if we look at the MBA, it's more than 90% international students. We have been strengthening even more connections with practice. To give an example, we never had as many corporate chairs as we have now, 26, financed by more than 80 corporate partners on all sorts of sectors, team, and of course the most current challenges. And all this actually is very much related to deploying our current strategy RISE. So in terms of the content of our pedagogy, but also the experience of our students, actually we're going through a journey of putting a focus on the environment and the social dimension, so linking the environmental and social transition, but also on artificial intelligence, data technology, as well as on entrepreneurship and innovation. Those are actually three pillars on which we have been working since 2020, in which ESSEC was already legitimate before, but now of course we have a renewed approach, more consistent, more deep, and actually with some specific features which are, all these topics are for 100% of our students, not only those who want to specialize in those topics, but for all the students. It is a 360-degree approach for the whole school. It concerns pedagogy, it concerns the way we create knowledge and research, and it also concerns the operations of the school. For instance, when you talk about environment, is how we deal with waste at ESSEC, how we deal with nutrition, how we deal with policy for mobility of students, and so forth so on. So these topics are extremely important to remain excellent, but also what is the key is to remain relevant, because this is what makes the difference. At ESSEC, I like to say that we make things differently in order to make a difference. It's not simply to differentiate us from others, but it's also what is very important is to make a difference, because it's in this way that we have an impact. It's actually to take full responsibility of the societal role of a school in higher education.
Thank you, Vincenzo. Could you briefly share the history of ESSEC and your journey with the school over the past decade?
Oh yes, it's a very interesting question, thank you. ESSEC was born in 1907. It was founded by the Jesuits. And it's interesting because the value proposition in the original status of ESSEC was actually to train the French elite in industries by combining business and ethics in 1907. So this actually confirms the pioneering spirit of ESSEC. Since 1907 we were talking about business and ethics. What does that mean? It means that this is now ingrained in our DNA, in the way we do things. So our value of humanism, innovation, responsibility, openness, excellence actually are all derived from the value proposition of ESSEC since the early days in 1907. Of course the school has evolved a lot over the past almost 120 years. For instance, we are more and more multicultural. We have campuses abroad. Next year we celebrated the 20th anniversary of our presence in Asia Pacific with our campus in Singapore. Since 7 years we have had a campus in Morocco, ESSEC Africa. But of course the multicultural dimension starts also here in France, in Cergy, as I was saying earlier on, with 40% overall of international students. And the international outreach of ESSEC also doesn't stop with campuses or attracting international students. It's also all our academic partnerships in several regions in the world. What is also one of the features of ESSEC is the very strong connections with the practice, which actually allows us to remain relevant.
What are the main programs that ESSEC offers and what sets them apart?
ESSEC has a quite large portfolio of programs, both for pre-experience. What does it mean pre-experience? Is all the programs that do not necessarily require a professional experience to enter them, and the post-experience programs. Now, if I can summarize and actually highlight what we call the three flagship programs of ESSEC, we have the Grande École program, the Master in Management, we have the Global MBA, Master in Business Administration, and the Global BBA, the Bachelor in Business Administration, who are the three flagship programs, if I can say so.
Thank you, Vincenzo. In your view, what are ESSEC's strengths compared to the world's top-ranked business schools?
Yes, of course, the excellence is there, but it's very important. When I speak about excellence, it's both academic and also the quality of the experience provided to our students and participants, but this is not enough to differentiate from others and to have an impact. It's a must-have, but also we need more, and I'm talking there about the relevance. What does it mean? It means the way we are capable to adapt to new needs, but also to make things evolve and anticipate the needs. For instance, when earlier on I was talking about the thematic pillars of our current strategy, it's not only a matter of adding new courses, for instance, on environment, on artificial intelligence, on innovation. Those are things that we've been doing now since 1907, adding new courses as soon as you have a new content to deliver to the students, or adding new programs. This is extremely important, but it's business as usual for a top-notch academic institution as ESSEC. What is more specific to ESSEC is the way that we have actually implemented those new themes ingrained in the core courses by a transversal approach, so that these themes actually they're not treated in silos, but they are integrated in the core courses. The way we've been doing that, actually we have created guilds of professors outside the departments, the academic departments, that actually collaborate on a regular basis with their own expertise from their discipline, but to contribute to these specific themes so as to actually nurture pedagogy, but also develop transdisciplinary research and also be relevant in the way we accompany companies. Another dimension extremely important for ESSEC is our values. When we talk about humanism, innovation, responsibility, openness, those are values that inspire our daily operations and are actually very attractive and very relevant nowadays for students, participants, for companies. And I would also say the multicultural dimension that again goes through campuses, but goes also in the way that ESSEC is open to all sorts of diversity, and always looking at diversity not as a constraint, but really as a leverage for further development.
Could you outline the three key elements of your strategic plan, RISE?
Yes, I would focus on two dimensions. One is the dimensions we already treated related to the strategic thematic pillars. Again, environmental and social transition, artificial intelligence, data, technology overall, and entrepreneurship and innovation, which are pillars that are very specific, but also that are very interconnected to each other, always putting the people at the core of our preoccupation. It goes back to the humanistic tradition, value, DNA of ESSEC. The second dimension is our development axis, the way we are developing the offer, which means making our current programs evolve, but also developing new programs. Couple of examples there. We have developed a Bachelor of Science with Central Super Lake on artificial intelligence, on data sciences and management science. We have developed a new Bachelor with Central Super Lake and Sciences Po HEPTA, related for the top athletes, multidisciplinary Bachelor for top athletes, and so forth, so on. Also, another axis of development is related to the premiumization and differentiation of what we do. So always taking into account the quality of what we deliver and the differentiating factor. And another development axis has been related to the experience, assuring that we really focus on the experience of our participants in executive education, our students in pre-experience education, but also the quality of the experience for all our stakeholders. It can be corporate partners, academic partners, and so forth, so on. Going back also to the idea that we need to be excellent, but also relevant and impactful.
You have international campuses in Singapore and Rabat. What are they like? And could you tell us more about ESSEC's international strategy?
Yes, that's a great dimension that is part now, again, of what the school is. As I was saying, we developed the campus in Singapore, ESSEC Asia Pacific, 20 years ago, and the campus in Rabat, Morocco, ESSEC Africa, 7 years ago. But you see the way they are named, ESSEC Asia Pacific and ESSEC Africa, they really show that their role is actually to be coherent with the strategy of the group, but also be locally embedded. What does that mean? It means that we need to answer the needs of the territory where we are, the regions where we are. When you are in Singapore, it's not exclusively for Singapore, but it's an ambition related to be regional leaders in Asia Pacific, where we learn from the region, so as to make the school progress, also with this multicultural dimension, but also we bring what we are to the region so as to be more impactful. Similarly in Africa, where we are in Morocco, but the idea is also to, of course, to train the Moroccan students, strengthening links with the companies in the country, but also go beyond the country and have a regional impact, which is a more Pan-African ambition, taking into account all the needs in higher education in the country. But the international strategy is not limited to the campuses, because we also have impact outreach in other regions in the world. For instance, in the past couple of years, we have invested a lot in the development in the United States, North America in general. I've just come back from a week spent in New York and in Toronto, and what we have been accomplished is strengthening partnerships, alliances with top-notch academic institutions in the United States. I'm thinking about Columbia, both the business school and the engineering school in New York, with whom we have a double degree for our Master of Science in Data Science and Business Analytics. I'm thinking about Carnegie Mellon, the business school, the Tepper Business School of Carnegie Mellon, with whom we also have a double degree, but we also do extended education. I'm thinking about the Parsons School of Design, which is the #1 school of design in the world in New York for interdisciplinary approach, and so forth, so on. This is a way of having an impact, improving our outreach in a region of the world with the top-notch academic institutions that are complementary in terms of competencies that we can provide, so as to enhance the quality and the experience of our students and participants.
Do you believe that having international campuses is essential for achieving top rankings globally?
I think that the campuses are not an objective or a purpose per se. They are a means to do what? To accomplish our mission. And actually the rankings must be also the reflection of how the way an institution accomplishes its mission, both in terms of quality, in terms of purpose, in terms of ambition, how successful an institution is. So campuses play a role, just like many other components within the school. Again, they're not a purpose per se. What is very interesting is that once we are in a territory, in a region, we bring what we are, but also we learn a lot. So it's a sort of double getaway where we make the whole community more multicultural, and we also help sharing the values, the competence of ESSEC with the region itself. So it's not a matter of copying and pasting what we have on one campus to the other campuses, but campuses are there for the mobility of our students, but they're also there to attract students, participants, companies, organizations from the specific territories, and also to develop programs, research, the way we accompany companies specific to the territories.
What are your ambitions for ESSEC's ranking in France, Europe, and worldwide?
I think we never have to stop to be ambition, because being ambition actually nurtures all the commitment that we need to have on a daily basis. The role of a school in higher education is very much a societal role. What does that mean? We are here a general interest mission, so through education, through higher education in business and related fields, what is the objective? The objective is that at ESSEC we are capable to train and transform leaders that they need to be performing, but also need to be responsible, need to be inclusive, need to be impactful. And this is actually the way that we measure how good we are in accomplishing our mission. And so with respect to ranking, of course, we need to be higher. We want to be higher and higher, because it means that then the higher we are in the rankings, the more for me is a signal that the community overall, even a general public, understands the quality and the relevance of our mission. So again, it's not a purpose per se of climbing the rankings, but it's a way of being recognized in terms of commitment, purpose, relevance, impact, quality of what we do.
How can business schools address emerging challenges such as artificial intelligence, data analytics, sustainability?
There are different ways. It's extremely important, and it's our daily effort. I think first element is to break silos across disciplines, because science in general, when you work in discipline, myself, I was a professor in statistics, and of course, the more you do research, the more you teach, the more you progress in your discipline, the more you go deep, the more you become specialized in the discipline. This must not come with the risk of losing a holistic view of what's happening in the world. And in order to do that, we need to break silos across disciplines so that disciplines work more and more together. It's not simply multidisciplinary, it's interdisciplinary, but it's even more than that, because disciplines have to work together, but also they need to be in close link with the reality. What I call connections with practice, connection with the reality, which means that academics have to work more and more with stakeholders that are outside academia, so that what they do is relevant. So it must be rigorous from the academic point of view. It needs to be relevant so as to serve society, and at the same time we also have to make the effort within academia to disseminate, diffuse, spread what we do, using the right language, addressing the different stakeholders and so forth on. So this is extremely important, breaking silos across disciplines, so that the leaders that are trained within ESSEC, actually they are both deep and wide in terms of being specialized and holistic, what we will call the T leaders. This is extremely important. So multidisciplinarity, transdisciplinarity are a key. The other point is that this should be for all the students, not only for those who specialize in specific sector. Of course, there are some who will be more specialized in technology, AI, more specialized in environmental issues, more specialized in innovation, entrepreneurship. But those topics should not be limited to those who want to be specialists. That's why they need to nurture pedagogy and research overall with a really holistic view. And then the last point, I think, is very important to walk the talk. What I mean by walking the talk, it means that those dimensions are also dimensions that we need to apply to the school as an organization itself. They cannot be topics that are limited to the classroom or whenever we talk to companies, organizations outside. Those are topics, if you take climate issues, if you take artificial intelligence, for instance, or even innovation, those are topics that also need to inspire the school in the way we run the school and the daily operations.
Thank you, Vincenzo. How does ESSEC adapt its courses and programs to stay aligned with technological and industry innovations?
This is indeed the entrepreneurial spirit of ESSEC, and I would even go beyond adapting, because there are sometimes we call in the world, we say that there are emerging challenges. Indeed, they are not simply emerging, they are major challenges, fundamental challenges. And the entrepreneurial spirit of a school, which is part of our DNA at ESSEC, is not only to adapt whenever something happens, but it's also to anticipate. And when you anticipate, that's why it's an entrepreneurial spirit. When you anticipate, it means that you take a risk. And it goes also with our purpose, which is, as you know, enlighten, lead, and change. We want to enlighten what happens through the pedagogy and the research, which is extremely important. It's the role, the core mission of a business school in higher education. But it's not enough. Also, we need to lead the new revolutions, industrial, technological, environmental, social, geopolitical, and so forth on. It's very important to lead that. What I mean by that is that our students, our community, they do not have to be spectators of what's going on and just react to what's going on. They really need to be actors of change. That's why enlighten, lead, and then change, really be actor at the core of the transformation. This is extremely important. So it's a matter of acquiring the right skills, knowledge in school. But you see, when you talk about knowledge is more and more, the obsolescence of knowledge is more and more accelerated. So knowledge is good, very important, but also need to be very humble and have an approach to knowledge so that you renew your knowledge throughout your life. So apart from knowledge, there are competencies, but there is also a mindset, which is extremely important. So learn to learn is extremely important, and I do hope this is something that on which we are very careful for students and participants at ESSEC. When they become alumni of the school, it's very important that they feel very convinced, determined, and well-equipped in terms of the knowledge, skills they've acquired and developed, but also that they are very humble, so that they set themselves into a learn-to-learn approach and keep learning all throughout their life.
Thank you, Vincenzo. AMBA, AACSB, EQUIS, in your opinion, do international accreditations risk standardizing business schools too much?
It does not depend on the accreditation, it depends on how the school undertake the process of accreditation. If the school undertakes the process of accreditation just to comply to some requirements list, so checking points and just filling in requirements, then there is a risk of standardization, homogenization. It's not the way we do at ESSEC. I think accreditation is very important if we take them as a continuous improvement approach, which means there are some standards to respect, but there is also flexibility. So it's not a matter of homogenizing things to comply with the rankings, but it's a matter of doing things and then having the accreditations so that we have a sort of an external auditor that actually checks how we are doing things and helps us in continuously improving what we are doing. So as I'm also part of this accreditation, I do see that the peer review teams are quite flexible. They try to understand what is the environment in which schools work, national, regional, what is the type of programs they have. There are ways of checking the quality, checking the relevance, the purpose of what is done, the success of what is done, that can evolve according to the environment. They're very rigorous, of course, but at the same time, I think the approach is continuous improvement. And this, if it's so, then this allows for differentiation. This allows also for making the whole system of business school and higher education in this field evolve.
Some students struggle to see the impact of research in management sciences. What are your thoughts on this?
I think that for a school that is not simply a teaching school, but a research school as ESSEC, what does it mean? It means that our professors, they are both teachers and research scholars, so they develop research. The two dimensions cannot be disentangled. What does it mean? It means that research actually nurtures the content of the pedagogy with cutting-edge knowledge. This is done. The students do not necessarily have to see it how it is done, but they must know that when we talk about content of the programs that is up to date, it's because cutting-edge research actually is nurturing the content of the pedagogy. But there is also another element that is extremely important, is when you are a researcher, when you do research, independently from the field, there is you follow the scientific method. And I think that more and more nowadays, the society requires leaders in the economic world, in the political world, in the civil society as a whole, leaders that have a scientific approach. What do I mean by that? When you have a scientific approach, it means that you don't give anything for granted. You question things. You are capable to question yourself. You are capable to put yourself into a dialogue. You know that when you say things, you have to demonstrate. And it means that you are capable to make things evolve. So you can listen to the others. And this is a scientific method very much related to research, but I think should also be taken by all the leaders that are trained within the school. So whenever, for instance, in some programs they have a research work to be done at the end of their study, beyond the content is also a way to train them to the method, so that when they are leaders, because when they are leaders they will be facing unexpected, complex situations, they will have to take decisions in an environment that is not the one they had expected and so forth, so they need to be creative. So another dimension related to research is to be creative so that you can face unprecedented situations. And it's not only a matter, when you are a leader in this world, it's not at all a matter of applying recipes that eventually you learned in a course, in a book, from a professor, but it's also a matter of cooking new recipe and be creative. That's what, for instance, in a restaurant, that's what makes the difference between a classical cook and a Michelin 3-star cook, where there is creativity, a way of really creating something new and having more impact.
Could you describe the ESSEC Alumni network and its impact?
That's extremely important. It's one of the strengths of the school. You have professors, you have students, and the alumni. We have more than 71,000 alumni all over the world in all sectors, more and more diverse in terms of their origins, in terms of the programs, in terms of the kind of jobs that they have. It's extremely important. Now, their role, several roles. The alumni actually, it's good because they are in contact with our students. Among all our external lecturers that we have at ESSEC, 1/3 of them actually is alumni. So they share with the students their competencies, their expertise, for their network in the professional world, but they're also important, so they're very helpful to students when they need to search for jobs, for internships, for experiences, when they want to exchange about a sector, about the values of a company. So again, they share competencies, expertise, and the network. But they're also important for me, for the school, because they are ambassadors of the school in the professional world. So they incarnate the values of the school. So they show to the rest of the world what ESSEC is, in terms of quality and relevance of competencies, but also in terms of values that are incarnated. And also for me are, I would say, a possibility of getting weak signals from the professional world that anticipate how the school should evolve in the near future. So for me, it's a source of very interesting information from the professional world. And last but not least, at ESSEC, the alumni are part of the governance. So the Association of the Alumni, part of the governance of ESSEC. So we take all the main decision about ESSEC, also with the involvement of the Association of the Alumni.
Finally, Vincenzo, why should prospective students choose France and ESSEC for their business education?
I think France is very good. That's also how France attracted me, as I was a professor in the university in Italy, and I was attracted by the French system of the business school, because I saw that it was incredible, very dynamic, very forward-looking, the entrepreneurial spirit of ESSEC, the values of ESSEC, the humanism. So there is quality, there is relevance, there is purpose. There are values that are really in our DNA. This is extremely important. Very much forward-looking, so very dynamic in terms of proposing new things is the entrepreneurial spirit. So both France and ESSEC, specifically ESSEC, are very attractive because I think they are very relevant and can really change lives of students, participants, and professors that come to ESSEC. This is extremely important to prepare them as leaders that are well adapted to the new world. And again, leaders that are not simply observing and being adapted to what's going on, but really leaders that make a difference. And this is, I think, the best mission we can have.
Thank you, Vincenzo, for being with us today.
Thank you, Thibaut. It was a great pleasure to discuss with you.
And see you soon on Thotis. Bye-bye.